want to play?
Do you know, they call it the Hanged Man here, but it's Made Free from the Gallows. Do you know that one?
Maybe. I could probably follow you. What key are you in?
D.
Okay. Took me a minute, but
no, it was great. It was great, yeah.
Oh, okay. So, is that a child ballad or is it just an old?
No, it is a child ballad. It's I think it's in the second volume.
Okay.
And it's called "The Maid Freed from the Gallows."
Oh, okay, cool.
It's a funny one, and it's one that I like because it's one of those ones where like the woman doesn't get murdered.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like
it kind of reminds me of The Seven Curses by Bob Dylan, where he talks about it's actually the girl's dad that's on the gallows this time, and but the structure is real similar. I'll have to look at
Yeah, it's one of those ones that, I mean, first of all, the lady doesn't get killed, which I'm a big fan of, like staying alive and not getting killed. But it's one of the ones that it's one of the ones that does have like fiddle tune equivalents kind of spread throughout. So there's a one of the American versions is just called Hangman.
Okay.
And there's that wonderful fiddle tune that we play down here. It's a 4-part fiddle tune. It's in A. And the version that I knew first was a French-Canadian version.
Okay.
That has 7 parts, and in French they call it Le Reine du Pendu.
Okay.
It's in a very weird tune, not weird, but it's A, E, A, C sharp.
Oh wow, that is a weird tuning.
Yeah, it's a great tuning. It's
I'll have to try it on my
super resonant.
mandolin.
It's
That sounds
super,
cool.
super resonant, and you get all these great C sharp unisons between the A string and there's a wonderful part where it's, and I can't do it because I'm not in the right tuning, but it's like,
Oh, that's neat.
and it requires all of this left hand pizzicato
Oh, wow,
and descending
that's
stuff
cool.
like that.
Well,
But it really is, it's the version of it that kind of floated around in the States, and this is all just lore,
okay.
but the versions of it that floated around in the States ended up in the blues tradition as well, and that's where you get gallows pole.
Oh yeah,
and that's where you
Yes,
and that's where you get gallows pole from Led Zeppelin.
Oh, okay. Well, they ripped off Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, all the time.
Hard to believe.
But
That's
it
pretty
is.
cool.
It's one of the really. It's one of the ones that gets kind of well traveled in a lot of different ways. That one, there's a beautiful collection of ballads performed live.
Okay.
And it's called Song Links.
Okay.
And I think there's 3 volumes of it now, and they were these recorded concerts where you have ballad performers from the UK and their American counterparts in concert together.
that'd
So
be
you get
interesting.
locks and bolts sung from what's her name, Sarah. I can't remember her last name right now, and sings the sort of UK
Sarah
version.
Rose?
No. And then you get Mike Seeger
Oh yeah. Okay.
doing locks and bolts, kind of like New
That's
Lost City
cool.
Rambler style, and it's beautiful because it very pointedly points out that these connections exist between old Rome.
So this wasn't one of my questions that I sent you, but I think it would be interesting. What differences do you find in the way that, say, a Scottish or an English or a French Canadian or an American would play a fiddle on some of these? I mean, how does the fiddle change when it goes from one culture to another?
It's even now that we live in sort of the recorded world, it's easier to pick up those differences between these things because we have like all of Spotify and YouTube
Sure.
and all these things at our disposal. The way that we ornament things in sort of, and I hate this word, but like that Celtic-y
Sure.
diaspora, because Scottish ornamentations are different from Irish
sure, yeah, they're
ornamentations,
totally
and the techniques that we would use are different, and Northumbrian playing is different, and French Canadian playing certainly is really, really different.
It seems to me like French Canadian. I haven't listened to a lot of French Canadian stuff, but it seems like they really like drones
Yes.
in their style.
Yes. And that's the purpose of all of the cross
You're
tuning
being
as
attacked
well.
by mosquitoes.
I am. It's because I'm so sweet. JK. It's not true. So some of the differences are like, because so much of the dance traditions
Oh,
are
okay.
different, the way that we ornament and the way that we use time
Sure,
is really
that makes
different.
sense.
So when I'm playing, old time music, it's very much more about like push, push, push. It's that
Right.
rhythmic drive that really is going to invite people to want to dance, and it's an emphasis on, if we're thinking in 4s, which we almost always are in American
Sure.
old time, we don't really have like a
Yeah, 6/8
jigging
or
tradition. We don't
something
have
like
that. I mean, the things we do have are very rare.
Right.
It's that emphasis on 2 and 4, and Phil Jameson really is the guy who has done the majority of the scholarship on this, where if you're, if it's pre-microphone
Yeah.
time, if that's how fast your foot is falling, the only thing that the dancers can really hear is going to be on 2 and 4.
Okay.
So if I'm going a little fast, that would be a very rowdy square dance if
Yeah,
I was
right.
going that fast. So if you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So everything that's happening that's important is surrounding that space
see.
where the feet are hitting the floor. So the signs of like, a great fiddle player, in the immediate, post-antebellum period would have been, can you play in time?
Right.
And can you play loud so that we can hear
makes
you?
sense.
So it's a totally different set of priorities for the fiddler, and typically for the Scottish country dancing, you wouldn't have had a collar in the same way.
Like they would here.
Yeah, like definitely look into Phil Jameson's work
Okay.
on this topic, because it's all about country dancing and
Okay.
how these things differ from
Well,
place to place. But
That kind of leads into one of the questions that I did send you.
mhm.
Are the dances one of the things that influence the change in the ballads from, because I mean, when you look at England and Scotland and Ireland and where these ballads, and then even over into Sweden and France and some of these other places where some of these ballads went, they're so differently changed. Would it have to do with using them with a dance, or?
Probably not.
Okay.
Typically not, because when you're playing for a dance, the idea of having some sort of narrative that is divorced from what the dancers are doing is completely superfluous. So
I
like
see.
having lyrics at, when I first was playing for square dances, I foolishly tried to like sing some
while you're-
couplets.
Sure.
Especially once dancers fall into the routine.
They're not listening.
They're
to
not
you
listening to us anyway. The only thing that they really care about in square dancing anyway is the regularity of the beat. For a contra dance or for sort of modern Cayley dancing,
Sure.
the way that you change between tunes, especially once the dancers have kind of fallen, if you're
Okay.
relying on a collar, which a lot of Scottish families, like one of the ones that strip the willow is one that
Sure.
like everybody does at like a wedding.
Okay.
If you have a Scottish wedding and you haven't
It's
done a
gonna
strip
have
the
that
willow, it's
song.
like it's a set of
It's not a
dances, and
real
it's
Scottish wedding.
closely related to like the Virginia reel, what we
Okay.
would do here.
Okay.
If you have a Scottish wedding and you don't have a strip the willow in there somewhere, then you're doing
You're
it
doing
wrong.
it wrong.
It's like, if you didn't have an open bar, did you really get married?
Yeah, right.
It's one of those things. But yeah, the families, they don't need a collar in the same way, because
Okay.
it's one of these just traditions. Like
Well, they
at a
know
wedding,
it so
you do
well.
this. Everybody
They
knows
hear
it
it
so
forever.
well. And again, Phil Jameson is really the guy that has the most, I think, deep understanding of this,
Okay.
but also has done a ton of scholarship on how these things all differ. Yeah, you don't really sing.
Yeah,
We don't really sing at square
Well, I mean-
dances. We don't really sing at contra dances.
Well-
Maybe during a waltz at the end of a set
You
for a
might
square
have a
dance. You
song.
might, like if you're doing like Willow Garden,
Sure.
you might sing that too, because you're not relying on somebody else to tell you what to
Okay.
do.
Why do we have Tam Lin the ballad and Tam Lin the fiddle tune? Any idea?
The idea on that, there's something to and this exists in the States
Okay.
too, this idea of, the Glasgow reel,
Sure.
trying to musically exemplify a story without words.
Okay.
So it's almost like, and it's borrowed in classical music all the time,
Okay.
the whole songs without
Sure,
words.
Yeah. Well, or any ballet.
Yes, yeah. And Tam Lin as a ballad would have been so ingrained in the
Okay.
public consciousness. They're called popular ballads
Sure.
because they're of
They're
the people.
popular, yeah.
And they've existed since like time immemorial. So having a piece of music that tries to capture all of the things that are going on in a ballad is kind of an interesting challenge for somebody who maybe is a tunesmith, and that Glasgow Reel is one of those ones that like there's very little deviation. Everybody who plays it that way. I'm not wholly familiar with the answer to that question, but it's a phenomenal question.
It sounds like probably the ballad came first and then the fiddle tune came later.
That's my suspicion.
Okay.
That's definitely
well,
my
that makes
suspicion.
sense then.
The American equivalent would
I've
be...
tried to sing the words to the Glasgow Reel just to see if they fit, and I've gone through several ones. I'm like, nah, this doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
But it really does catch the whole story of Janet riding off and riding back. I mean, she's always on a horse.
Yeah. Well, and it...
Or Margaret, whichever.
Yeah, whoever, it's funny, I've been reading a lot of Robbie Burns recently, and like, the amount of ladies' names that he goes through, but then recycles in kind of odd ways is really interesting as well. No, the one that I think of for... I mean, Hangman's Reel is kind of a good example as well, that like there are so many different fiddle tune versions of the Hangman's Reel, and it exists in, there's a very distinct Irish version of that, there's a very distinct French-Canadian version of that, there's the one that most people I think in this region of the United States are playing when they play the Hangman's Reel is really the Albert Hash version, and he's from Rugby, Virginia.
So could you give me like couple different examples, or do you have to retune your
I
fiddle?
can retune to do. I can do the American one and then the French Canadian one. The Irish one, I'm good at. I'm just not good at it. But they sound nothing like the ballad.
Oh, nothing.
Absolutely nothing whatsoever.
So again, here's another example of the ballad probably came first, and then these came later.
Yes.
Well, is there ever any like tradition of a performance where somebody would do the ballad and then somebody else would go off and do the, or is that something that maybe might be a modern thing that people try to do?
I think it's a modern thing that people try to do now, because a ballad, as it would exist in performance, and a fiddle tune as they would exist in performance are still relatively modern. Like, they have utilitarian purposes, and so trying to mash them together as a performative act, I think would be a fairly contemporary, because fiddle tunes exist for dancing. They have a very fixed utilitarian purpose.
What they're for.
Ballads are more like, they're meant to be sat down and listened to.
Okay.
They're meant to be added to by a very skilled performer. They can add and sometimes improvise verses if they're kind of reading the room and seeing that, like, this is dead in the water.
Music has that too. Like Lightning Hopkins has the Black Cadillac, where he's imitating the Cadillac sound on his guitar.
Yeah. Is that Richard Thompson does a good version of that one
does.
too? Yeah, he does. Yeah.
I worked with him in New York, and I think he did that when he was there.
So Jeremy and I actually just recorded this one, the American Hangman's Reel, and then there's no words to it, but in the third part, it's pretty typical for someone to go, hangman, hangman, and then some people say set me free, some people say slack the line, some people say all these like
little phrases,
save me man, you know. So the American version, this is closest to Albert Hash's probably. distinct versions, right? And then, I hope I don't make a mess out of this French Canadian version. And I wore very improper shoes for trying to do
For the French Canadian one.
Glad I brought the fiddle that can deal with being tuned like this. And you can hear kind of little shades of the different versions in there. So typically we would be sitting, and I'm wearing very improper shoes and a very improper everything to be trying to do this. But you do this sort of footwork where the foot's going back and forth here, so you're your own percussion.
Okay.
It's typically done unaccompanied, just the fiddle player and the foot. But this is doing your eighth note.
Okay.
1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and then your other foot is doing.
Oh, okay.
And you're getting that going on. Yeah, it's quite something. I'll try to attempt maybe just the right foot in this one, but and it's very, very crooked.
Okay.
It's like, and you could actually dance to some of these crooked tunes. There are.
But it's a little tough.
Yeah, there are formations that are specifically for crooked tunes.
Okay.
And then there's a tradition that some people disagree with the term, some people are okay with it. The Métis fiddling tradition in like the Midwestern parts of Manitoba sort of region of Canada where two people are sort of like battling it out while they dance to these crooked tunes, and most of their tunes are crooked.
Okay.
Let's see if I can get it. I haven't done it in a while. Let's see. 6 or 7 parts in that one as opposed to just the 4 that we've kind of stripped it
Yeah,
down
it doesn't
to.
sound at all like the same tune anymore. It just totally.
I mean, I hear where it kind of does, you know what I mean? Like some of those sort of passages that just rely on changing from the 1 chord to the 4 chord to the 1 chord to the 4 chord. But yeah, it's a totally different tune all of a sudden.
Cool.
But it is, you know, it kind of goes to that same idea of the ballads where like different communities kind of pick them up and add things that culturally fit with what their aesthetic is. Yeah.
It's weird to me that, I mean, I haven't been to England, and the entire area seems so small. Like, okay, I'm from Indiana. England
sure.
is smaller than Indiana.
Yeah.
All right, and it's like, but yet we, and I think the first settlers moved there in the late 1700s. I know my family came to the area right after the Revolutionary War because they fought with the Americans and were deeded a whole bunch of land over in Ohio and Indiana. So they go back to the same time that some of these tunes actually get started. But what baffles me is just how diverse the cultures are from town to town in England, and the dialects and the accents and all that. And it's like, and then yet the tunes change that much, and I can't imagine things would have been so impossible for people to travel back then. I mean, you could walk from one town to the other, but you walk that distance and there's such a change sometimes. It's like, but then I was doing some research and I found that back in the Middle Ages, it was illegal to just walk from one town to the other sometimes.
Yeah,
So,
especially in Scotland. I mean, that's all controlled by clans.
oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? And so,
Sure.
like, if you're happening to accidentally stumble into Campbell clan Campbell, and you are not, they'll kill you.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well, and
some
that
of
would
it,
explain like some of the Hatfields and McCoys kind of,
yeah, that
tradition
sort of
clannishness in
sort of,
Kentucky
yeah.
and Virginia.
But some of it too, and again, there's a lot of really beautiful theories kind of floating out there about, fiddle tunes are they're part of a larger tradition, but they also, a great player maybe wants to put a little bit of something of themselves into a tune. So you get, these little pockets of tunes that were like specialties for certain families. I always think about Burl and Ed and Hammonds in Pocahontas County, West Virginia, where they had this collection of tunes that were like their specialties that really you didn't hear outside of that region, and until, thank God for tune collectors to a certain extent, because now we all can go back and listen to, a specialty tune like Queen of the Earth and Child of the Skies that nobody else plays. And that sound like bagpipes because of some of those droning strings. And ballads, I think, are similar in the sense that, do you know that book, The Singer of Tales?
I've heard of it. I haven't checked it out yet.
You should check it out. It's a scholarly, very dense
Deep
read.
book,
Yeah, but the whole idea was that these two researchers who were interested in the oral tradition behind something like the Odyssey or the Iliad. How did it come to have its final form that everybody knows and understands? And how many people's input and hands had touched that before we arrived at the version that we have now? And how can we look at something that did exist in an oral tradition for probably a long time before it was written down, and look at live performance of ballads? So he looks at Eastern European singers, and it's kind of like what I was talking about before. Like if you're performing a ballad for somebody, and there's 17 verses, you have to remember them all in order. Which if there's a narrative, that helps. You have to remember them all, but you also have to kind of gauge your audience. Like if they're not feeling that story, why would you torture them with 17 verses instead of just going on?
You got all those others.
And they're up and they're wanting to like refill their coffees or have a smoke. The extent to which claiming tradition or claiming a history puts up a, some of it's about gatekeeping. Some of it's about keeping people out or bringing people in, and what do you have to do? It's all very complicated. And if you look especially at post revival, you start to see with like the John and Alan Lomax style collectors a very set in stone and static idea of what a tradition is.
Right.
Where, I mean, Alan Lomax is famous and infamous to a certain extent within folklore and ethnomusicological circles of going into someone's home and somebody saying, "Oh, well, you're a singer of traditional ballads." I'm okay, thank you. You're a singer of traditional ballads. What would you like to sing for me?
Right.
And they wanted to sing like a Tin Pan Alley tune
Yeah,
or something like that, and
for.
Alan Lomax saying no. So the collectors, the catalogers, the people who are going out and doing this work that we needed to be done to preserve
Right.
these items as historical records, to a certain extent influenced what the tradition is and what it is not.
Well, and
you get that famous story about Doc Watson all the time, that he wanted to play, jazz guitar for people,
Right.
and the field recorder said, "Well, no, play like traditional songs."
Right.
But to him, he wanted to play his Les Paul.
Sure.
It's like it's a very interesting.
Well, I ran into
interplay.
that a lot in New York. It was like some of the people that I knew that were folkies, you could tell that they kind of grew up as classical musicians, or their parents were.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had this idea that, well, this is the proper way that this folk tune is done. And I would say, oh, well, in Indiana we do it like this. And they're like, no, that's not the right way. I'm like,
because in
we've been
classical
doing it
music
this way for
there
100
is-
years.
Yeah, in classical music there is a right way.
Right.
And so it's examining, and I wrote about this in my dissertation. It's looking at imposing the rules of participation from one musical culture onto another, where there is one right way to play the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto, and we have it all
Right.
written there, and we know what the record is. But when you're dealing with popular music, and when you're dealing with the topics that we're dealing with in ballads, when you're dealing with balancing a sense of, again, it's that balance of like
But the funny
tradition, personal agency,
Sure.
personal voice. They talk in the introduction to the Child Ballads a lot about how a valued ballad singer in the mid-19th century, late 19th century, would not have done that thing that I care so much about, which is like
Right.
inhabiting a character.
Yep.
A valuable ballad singer is just going to deliver
They're gonna give it to
information,
you.
and they're not gonna emote. They're just
Well,
going
I think
to.
each time period kind of had its own rules, because like when you look at even the rules of classical, or what we would call classical music before, say, the late 1700s, it was much freer, I think, when you look at like the journals of Bach or somebody like that,
You were
than when you
expected-
look at what Beethoven would have said.
You were expected to be able to improvise.
Yeah.
You were expected to be able to see a figured bass and improvise over that figured
Mhm.
bass, but you also, to a certain extent, were surrounded by
Mhm.
the musical ethos of the time. So there's also a phenomenally wonderful thread of scholarship about amateur musicians
Oh,
versus
sure.
professional musicians during the time of Bach, and the amateur musicians would have been their own kind of class and things
Sure.
like that. It wasn't until like the university system that you started to see professional musicians actually
Kinda
have
qualified.
any sort of skill.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Yeah. But the cool, I mean, it's cool, but it's also interesting, but it's also a little bit weird. It's like one of the questions that you asked me about was like, when do ballads start becoming an art form? I think was the
yeah.
question that you had asked, and I dug into it just a little bit just because I thought it was an interesting question, because I do think that whoa,
That wants to eat you.
I'm very sweet. That's why. Take a bite, you'll be very disappointed. I do think of ballad singing as an art form without it. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like it's a funny thing. My PhD is in music education, but I have some training in ethnomusicology, and two of my mentors are ethnomusicologists and things like that. So looking at a fiddle tune or a ballad as not being an art form because it's not high art or
Sure.
those designations are always a little bit like
Yeah,
funny
vague
for
anyway,
me.
Yeah.
But you do see in the early 20th century, because of oh gosh, Maud Carples and Cecil Sharp
Oh yeah.
in the UK, the Folk Song Society.
Mm-hmm.
Who's in the Folk Song Society? Vaughan Williams.
Sure.
Percy Granger.
Yeah.
All of these,
These are serious scholars.
serious scholars and composers
Yeah.
of this high art music. So you see how there could be this exchange between
You see
Vaughan
the
Williams,
Dvorak, where he wants to check out the local
Bartok.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bartok,
I mean,
all
it's
those
been in
people.
there, Haydn. It's been
Yeah.
in there for a long time, but it was, there's a certain aspect of nationalism at
Mhm.
play there as well, where the kind of rotten weird end of it is Wagner.
Sure, sure.
Like maybe
But-
I like Nazis end of
but-
it
yeah,
is
right.
Wagner, but the
But
other
that
end of it is
brings up
Vaughan Williams.
Why certain versions of these songs may have been more popular because of nationalist tendencies too. Like if somebody comes from Scotland to America, they're going to want to promote more a Scottish version, and if somebody, because when they came from Scotland, there were already a lot of English people here,
Depends on the time at which you would have emigrated.
Okay.
It definitely depends on the time at which you would have emigrated and where you're going to.
Okay.
Um,
So if you're heading to, Jamestown area, Williamsburg, Virginia, you're going to have more English people, but if you
Yeah.
came
But if
in
you're
here or
if
something-
you're the big, I always think about it in the sense of why does Cape Breton identify as being Scottish?
Okay.
The island off Nova Scotia,
Sure.
yes. When you have Fort de Louisbourg is right there,
Right.
which was like a French port.
Yeah.
You have Cheticamp up top,
Yeah,
and
so
like
why
that.
wouldn't they
There are
keep the
these
whole
French
thing?
strongholds as well, but it's how the extent to which you are allowed to hang on to that, but it's also how many of your clan is there.
Sure.
So
I follow a lot of people on YouTube just because I'm interested in this whole idea of how American English got to be American English, and the people that want to talk about it the most are always these British people. And the thing that cracks me up is they have no clue. They have no idea how our culture. Like my family was speaking German up until the last generation.
Sure.
Like the second to last generation. My grandfather's father spoke German, and everybody in the family spoke German, and they told my grandfather, "No, you speak English," and
to what extent are you going to be expected to assimilate?
yeah,
And to what extent are you going to be
but that's
expected?
going to have an effect on English. When you are German and you're switching over to English, you're going to have things, and the same thing with the Swedes, and the same thing with the Scottish, because their English is different.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of that's affecting it. But when you watch these British YouTubers, they're like, I don't understand how Americans. We settled America and all this, and it's like, well, no, you didn't. You settled a
You're
little
one
tiny
part
piece
of it. Yeah, you're just one part
yeah.
of it. Yeah, no, my husband's from South Dakota, and so it's like this weird. Like everybody has that sort of not
Yeah.
everybody, but the that sort of Scandinavian-ness.
Sort of tilt to it.
Tilt
yeah.
is in there, definitely. Like the amount of Andersens and not
Mhm.
Andersons is
Yeah.
pretty pronounced out there. But like his family is, they can't remember a time when they weren't living
Sure.
in like Castlewood, South Dakota. So like they
They've
just
been there
have
a long
they've been there a
time.
long time. But like they also just have this sense of like, when I ask Ryan, I'm like, well, you got to be like a little bit Scottish at least. Your last name is Mac.
Something in there.
Like your
Yeah.
last name is Mac. So
Right.
there's got to be
Has
some
to be some
Scottish
Scottish.
somewhere, but they much more identify with what his mother can tell me, which
Okay.
is not a lot.
Okay.
German,
Oh yeah.
oddly enough, and
Well,
it makes sense
Mac-
though, sort of.
Mac could be MACK.
MAC, yeah,
could
and
be
it
a
could have
German
been that,
derivative
but-
or something.
Maybe it's just because I like.
You want him to be Scottish.
I want him to be a little bit Scottish, but it's also this thing where we know in my family because we've done a lot
Sure.
of the background
Yeah, that's
work,
how my mom
what
stressed ours out.
apparently on both of our side, no, my mom's side, we could, like, technically me and my sister could, like, do all the paperwork to be registered members of the Daughters of the American Revolution.
Sure. That's what my mom did for my dad.
Yeah, so like we know all of this stuff, and like my husband doesn't, and he just kind of can like guess. But I'm like, yeah, Mac is Scottish. Let's just say you're Scottish. Let's just pretend that you are.
Were there any of the other questions that I asked that kind of popped out that you thought were interesting?
I would have to look at them again because it was quite a list of questions that you sent
One
me.
of the questions I was interested in is like some of the ballads with the oldest known tunes, because I'm trying to kind of connect some of this up to the like the Middle Ages a little bit.
I brought a book for you that I don't know. Maybe you've already. It's in 4 volumes.
Oh, I'm planning on buying this one.
It's in 4 volumes, and that's the first bit of scholarship that really attempted to do the same sort of taxonomic categorization of the tunes.
Okay.
And talks a lot about.
Here we are with the 2 sisters.
Yes, because it's dog-eared from like different things that I was looking at. So you see my stars and random stuff is all over the place. Because I wanted to look at other North Carolina tunes to see if any of them were similar to Lee Monroe Presnell's. Edward is a great one. I love Edward. Do you know the Scottish variant of Edward?
I probably have heard it, but Edward's one that I haven't gotten to researching yet. It's one that there's a lot of them that I've heard.
Yeah.
But there's only a few of them that I've
I can't remember all the words to that one. That one is, I could do probably
verse.
I could probably do the Scottish version better than I could do Edward. The Scottish version is called My Son David.
What key?
I mean, I hardly ever do them accompanied, so I'm trying to think. Could probably do in D.
Okay. I'm probably getting out of tune after Tamlin.
But it's the same basic. It's the same basic story as Edward. You know, still the mother talking to the son, trying to figure out what the heck is going on with all this blood. Spoiler alert.
I mean,
but
Edward's similar to Lord Randall in a way, isn't it?
Similar, yes, but there's the thing that's interesting about Edward is the fairly consistent presentation of that tune modally.
Oh, okay.
So I have not ever heard a version of it that does what My Son David does, which is B in major. That
was another question that I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Which maybe I sent it to you. A lot of these modes that are present in the ballad tunes, we're not talking major and minor all the time.
No, they're modal.
Yeah, they change a lot.
They're modal, and they have.
we'll ask that question after we play.
Oh man, I hope I don't mess up these words because there's a lot of them, and I haven't done this one in a bit. So the version that I like is from a Scottish singer. Her name is Jeannie Robertson.
Okay.
And she is probably the best example of this give and take, push and pull of how you present a ballad based on who your audience is. And there's a really wonderful bit of scholarship about her process because she's fairly well. I'll send you a link to some of the Lomax recordings from an archive in Scotland just opened up.
Oh, okay.
And so there's tons of recordings now of her like in a kitchen.
Oh, cool.
Just by herself.
Somebody recording her.
But Ewan McCall and Peggy Seeger had done a bunch of recording of her.
I have one of their collections, and it's got a lot of stuff on it.
The first place that I heard her sing was on the Scottish Drinking and Pipe Tunes.
I got that CD
wonderful collection. And the first time I heard her do this was on that recording. Let's see. Oh, what's the blood that's on your soul, my son David, oh son David, what's that blood, it's on your soul, come promise, tell me true.
Well, he killed his brother, so
He killed his
he
brother,
doesn't
and
deserve
then
it anymore.
what does he?
So what's the refrain? Because of what?
Because he would ne'er rule by me.
Oh, so he wouldn't obey?
He wouldn't obey, because he would never rule by me. And my son David, oh son, hi Lady Mother, oh Lady Mother.
So how does it go from being a song about David to being a song about Edward? Or is it just because David is more common in Scotland and Edward's more common in England, or?
No telling, man.
No idea.
That's
And
not
that,
one that
and
I.
there makes it hard to find out if this was a true story at some point. What did it go back to? But some of them are pretty easy, like the death of Queen Jane. We know where
what's
that came
going on
from.
there. Yeah, no, it's. I keep coming back to this idea of like magic in plain sight.
Yeah, sure.
But these, the way that these things transform is one of the reasons that like, and that there are so many variants, and you can keep digging, and there's always some topic that is still relevant in a very, very different world than when these songs were conceived, is some of the reason that I think so many people come back to ballads time and time and time again. There's something really resonant to the idea that you do something wrong, you want to get away from that, you want to leave that behind you, so he wants to get on the boat and leave, and the last one is so beautiful, and it's like really, it's in the My Son David version where, when will you be back again, my son David, oh son David, when will you be back again, come promise, tell me true, when the sun and the moon set in yonder glen. So it's like, I'm never coming back here. I'm never coming back. Like they're gonna kill me for killing my brother. That you would run away from your problems. That you would run away from facing some sort of consequence. That so many of the American ones are unrequited love, never to be fulfilled. Like you get to be a certain age, and there's emotional resonance in that. For unless you marry your childhood sweetheart, there's emotional resonance in this idea that love will be lost. There's emotional resonance in the idea that one of the ones, and it does have a child ballad source, but I cannot think of what it is right now. The Texas Gladden recording of One Morning in May like, it's a cautionary tale, but it is like very chilling. This idea that
and the way she sings it is chilling too. I mean, she knew how to make a harsh ballad sound like, oh my gosh,
Yeah, she's terrifying.
Yeah,
she's wonderful, but she's terrifying. You get to that ending. I spied a young maiden, wrapped in white linen, and cold as the clay.
Yeah, well,
I love all these ones where people are cold.
And that's where St. James Infirmary comes from, and the El Paso Streets of Laredo, all those songs. Oh, The Unfortunate Rake.
Yeah.
That's the one it came from.
But it's interesting because there is so much, there is so much topically, except for maybe the Robin Hood ones. I think that third volume is tough. I think.
What is the deal with the Robin Hood thing? I mean, all those they go back to like the 1200s, 1300s. They are so vastly different from the other ones.
They were printed, so Child did not really want to rely on, because he's a scholar and he's in the business of comparative literature. He's in the business of cataloging and organizing material in a way that makes sense to somebody coming to this material from outside of the field. He only really wanted to look at printed sources, and it says in the opening to the volumes that when he was organizing, he did try and go out in the field and brought a transcriber and wanted to see what modern versions of these existed, but they were not even just Robin Hood, but in general. And he said it was that it bore no harvest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's not because he couldn't find people singing the ballads, but he had no way to verify that it was
the actual
or that it was actually in any way related to some of these other versions.
Somebody at some point in the far past decided we're going to collect all these Robin Hood ballads and he used that as a source or sources.
I believe that comes from the Percy manuscript, but I could be wrong. There's several manuscripts that are in print, that were in print, and he and a colleague of him did a lot of work to get the Percy manuscript actually published, released, so it could be used as a scholarly source. He was one of the driving forces behind that. You would have had the Pepys Ballads. You would have had records of broadsides that had been categorized and collected and put into volumes.
Right.
The broadsides are a fairly reliable source. Pepys is a good one. But
it just seems strange when you're going through it that you've got all these stories about from I would say the 1600s on. And then all of a sudden you have this whole chunk of Robin Hood stuff, and maybe.
I mean, it's the lore. I mean, but that's again, it goes to how the volumes are organized, and I think that's why the third volume I think gets a bad rap because so much of it is Arthurian, so much of it is Robin Hood, or very, very topical. Things from.
Well, isn't that the one that it has a lot of the biblical stuff too, like King Herod and
I think that's
and
the
Judas and
third. I think that's the beginning of the second. Has the cherry tree, the carnal and the crane, and Dives and Lazarus right at the beginning of the third. But let me check so that I don't look like a dummy. Robin Hood. Yeah, cherry tree, carnal and the crane, and Dives start out the second. And then, but the second and the first are organized very similarly. The reason they're not entirely identical, and he had a lot of help in organizing all of this because, he admitted as well that there's no way to be truly authoritative. There's no way that I've collected everything. There's no way that this is the definitive way to organize them. But the first book, if you look, they're organized. They're in couplets. So if you look, couplet, couplet, and then as you get into the second, they're in fours.
Quatrains.
Yeah, quatrains.
So I want to go back.
But it was a lot of back and forth. Between his colleagues to try and figure out how
I'm
to
sure there are certain versions of the same song that may be in 4 and maybe in 2.
There's clumps of things that kind of get, so you have they're all in these, they're in couplets, but you also have all the bride stealing is right at the beginning of the first volume. And then you get into, what is it? It's 10 through 17. It starts with the two sisters and then goes, I think, through the cruel mother, where it's all murdering your family to get something you want. But still versed by couplets. So he did try and clump them, related. Related topically. But a lot of it had to do with couplets or quatrains.
So we're hoping to go up to Massachusetts this summer. If I went over to Harvard, do they have a museum of his stuff or anything?
Not certain. I'm not certain. I applied 3 years ago. I put in a paper for a conference that was going to be held at the Cecil Sharp House, and didn't have any money when I found out my paper was accepted. So I was like, man, I don't get to go to the Cecil Sharp House and hang out with all these rad people. But I'm not certain if they have that at Harvard.
I gotta find out.
It would be wonderful if they
Is the Cecil Sharp House?
Cecil Sharp House is in the UK.
Oh,
it's in the UK. Yeah. But yeah, Cecil Sharp House would be a good one. Good gracious. Elphinstone Institute at the University of Aberdeen as well is a good one. That deals more in very strictly Scottish things.
Well, maybe I can find Child's grave or something up there somewhere.
I think that it said in here where he was.
But we were talking about modalism before.
Yeah.
What are there certain types of modes that tend to pop up over and over again in some of these songs?
The openness of a modal sort of tuning allows for sort of the push and pull and the give and take. I mean, so often they're going to be performed unaccompanied.
Okay.
So
well,
you
that's
don't
what I
need
like
anything.
about, like, I tune to ADAD on here because, you know, I can be major and just move, and now I'm minor or almost Arabic, you know, like Tam Lin has sort of that, you know, early. The interesting thing about the Glasgow reel is it's almost very similar to like Turkish tuning for the oud. They're very similar in the way that some of the oud tunes sound like the way the Glasgow reel is played.
It depends on the maqam you're using.
Yeah.
Because they've got
Yeah,
way more tunings than we
14 of
have.
them or something,
Yeah, they have
yeah.
way more than we have. But
But like I think it's Bayati or something.
Bayati.
Yeah, it is very similar. Although it's probably in a different key. I think it's like in a C type of modal thing. But
I think that's a C root.
Yeah.
Can
we hear some banjo? I think the sweater's straight on.
Yeah, modal.
Yeah, gotta get into that.
And it's that openness that you can get from this. It's funny when I was first kind of getting into traditional music, and I wasn't as encumbered by trying to find the most traditional sources. So the first time I heard the House Carpenter was from Nickel Creek.
Oh yeah, they have a really good.
Their version of it is really beautiful. And then when I started like looking at older sources, I went to kind of that Clarence Ashley version. That's on the Harris Smith one.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of the first ballads that I really got into were the ones off of the Harris Smith anthology. But I do like this one, and it's one that I play.
Who's the guy? Hobart Smith. They're not related, but they're both folky people. But he has a version of the House Carpenter too. That's pretty interesting.
I mean, it's very widely recorded. I like the Buell Kazee stuff on the anthology a lot as well. That's where I got my Butcher's Boy.
Oh, okay.
Is from.
Cool.
And that's on Zinking's first record, and I like when you can pull an audience in with that one. It scares the Jesus out of them.
It's one of those deals where you have to acclimate yourself, because if you jump right into the old recordings, it's like, oh my gosh, people can't sing.
No, my mentors really kind of prepped me for that.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Where, you know, coming from classical music and kind of slick sounding, contradance music and like northern style playing tends to be a little bit more polished than the older recordings, but then I kind of developed a distaste for things being too slick.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I don't like when things are too polished. I like everything a little bit rough around the edges. So when I was recording last weekend, Jeremy was like, oh, it's just, I flubbed this thing, or I flubbed this thing. And we listened back and I was like, oh baby, leave it. Leave the dirt.
I grew up with all that, so it's kind of like, to me it was sort of the opposite. It's like, okay, you're not practicing hard enough. You know?
Yeah, no, and coming from classical music and hearing my father in the next room going, it's out of tune, do it again. And then they came down for my master's recital in viola, and I took them to an old time ensemble performance. Very first term of old time ensemble, and my mom was like, you came down here to do this? I was like, hell yeah, I came down here to do this. No, she's wonderful and very supportive of my fits of fancy with traditional music. So I guess this has House Carpenter.
Okay.
I haven't played it in a while, so we'll see how it goes. One of those bugs!
It's protein.
I drank all the flies that ended up in my beer the other night. It scared a bunch of my friends, and they were like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, protein. Free protein, baby! I'm not paying $8 for a burrito when I can get these
just eat the
free flies. It's all just pragmatism.
But before we're done, my daughter wants to ask you about Fiddle too, 'cause she's
Oh,
learning.
sure.
So.
All right, take 2. I'll tell you a funny story about Butcher's Boy. Are you trying to try this one again?
All right.
1, 2, 3. Well met, said his own true love. Well met, said he. I'm just returning from the salt, salt sea. It's all for the love of thee. Come in, my own true love. Have a seat by me. It's been 3/4 of a long, long year since together we have been. I can't come in nor I won't sit down, for I've only a moment's time. They say you're married to a house carpenter, and your heart will never be mine. I could have married the king's daughter dear, and she would have married me. I have forsaken her crowns of gold. It's all for the love of thee. Will you forsake your house carpenter and go along with me? I'll take you where the grass grows green on the banks of the deep blue sea. She picked up her darling little babe, gave kisses 1, 2, 3. She said, stay right here, my darling little babe. Keep your papa company. They had not been on the ship 2 weeks. I'm sure it was not free when his true love began to weep and to mourn, and he wept most bitterly. Said, are you weeping for the silver and the gold? Or are you weeping for my stone? No, I am weeping for my darling little babe, whose face I'll never see no more. They had not been on the ship 3 weeks. I'm sure it was not cold. There sprung a leak in the bottom of the ship. It's sunken for to rise no more.
I love that too. And Golden Vanity, do you know? That's
Yeah,
a good tune.
yeah, I do that
I love
one
those
as well.
boat songs, you know. Sea storms.
Golden
That song
Vanity.
sucks though. It's like the poor kid does the hard job of going and sinking the enemy ship, and then the captain's like, have a good day, and sails off and leaves him.
Well, and the sad part is like, I always try not to think about it, but like, there's like some like weird misogyny kind of built into a lot of the ballads, like the way that I think about like Child Outlet. Do you know that one?
I don't think so.
Oh, immediately go listen to the Maddie Pryor
Oh,
rendition of Child Outlet because it is like metal balladry.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it starts out and it's so sweet. Lady Erskine sits in her bar. I mean, it's unaccompanied.
Sure.
And it's, oh my god. Like, she's like, Lady Erskine sits in her bar, sewing a silken seam. A bonny shirt for Child Outlet as he goes out and in. And it's all like, she's married, but she like has a wicked crush on her nephew.
Oh, okay.
And she tries to like tempt him, right? And he's like, no.
You're my aunt.
So she stabs herself and then blames it on him. Her husband finds her bleeding in her bedroom, in her bar, and then assembles this council of, you know, men of the village to be like, well, how should we punish this guy?
Oh, man.
And it's all built on this false,
anything.
you know, and it's like, but the way that she is portrayed is like, well, I didn't get what I want, so now I'm gonna ruin it for everyone. So there's like this weird stuff with women built into these ballads, and like, immediately go listen to that version of Maddie Pryor, because by the end, I mean, it's graphic. Like, there is no stone on elephant floor, and like they talk about his blood and his flesh and like just stuff being, because they tie his arms and his legs to 4 different horses, and they send him running out onto the moors, and so they find little bits of him scattered all over the moor. So
Poor
it's
guy.
poor guy, yeah. But like part of
Yeah, but that
Golden
goes all the
Willow
way
Tree
back
or Golden
to
Vanity.
The story of Joseph in the Bible.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that's.
But like the whole bit in because I love Golden Willow Tree. I call it Golden Willow Tree, but Golden Vanity. I love it. But like part of the whole deal is like, we'll do this thing, and like, sure, I'll give you my daughter.
Yeah, right.
You know, there's a lot of this
Yeah.
like women's agency in ballads is like a tricky. And my friend Miriam Jones, she lives in Australia. She's a phenomenal singer. She plays in a band called Woe Mule. And she published this piece that's about like how do like feminist killjoys, like I sometimes consider myself, like how do feminist killjoys who are in traditional music kind of reckon with
this kind
balladry and the way that women are portrayed in ballads, and just like that women are sort of like traded around as chattel. It's wicked stuff. But I love Golden Vanity because the banjo part is so fun. Like, oh god, it's just a great band.
Can
like,
you play that one?
I learned it off the Justice Begley version. Yeah,
What
like
key do you do this?
in A.
Okay.
In A. There was a little ship and she sailed
cool version. I've never heard that.
That's
that
the
before.
source. I mean, well, it's not the source. I learned it from the Justice Begley source that's in Library of Congress, collected by Minnix.
That's cool.
So it's
the
the
one
one.
that I know is more the. How does it go?
It's a happy little sad song.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's so Justice Begley was a banjo player and ballad singer, and he's the source that most people in the Americas know that too.
Know that one.
Yeah. And speaking of thieves, like Bob Dylan, Aaron Copland, man, straight up
Oh,
thief.
he took
So
that one.
his cycle of American songs
Oh, has that in it?
has the golden
Oh,
vanity,
okay.
golden willow tree in it, and in every set of liner notes I've ever seen for it, anywhere that's ever printed, it does not credit Justice Begley
Really?
as the source.
See,
And
the one
it
I
makes
know-
me furious because we know
That
that
he was the
went
source.
into the Library of Congress
And recorded it.
and just listened to the recording many times
Yeah.
and like took notes about what he
Oh,
wanted
what
to
a
do,
jerk.
and it's like, I mean, Aaron Copland is infamous for this, you know what
The
I
one I
mean?
recorded on my pirate
W.H.
album.
Step is the same thing.
Is it?
Yeah, that's where that's.
Oh, yeah.
It's Bonaparte's
That's-
Retreat.
Yeah.
From the W.H. Step
That-
version that
that's
is in the same, it's in the same archive as the Justice
And
Begley
nobody
recording,
gets
and
any
nobody,
credit.
I mean, Step gets more credit, I think, than
Oh,
Justice
does it?
Begley does.
Okay.
Like, most people who have that crossover between, you know, American classical music and American folk music know that
Sure.
it's the W.H. Step version of that. But Justice Begley never gets his
Wasn't
due.
gonna mention.
Never
Poor
gets
guy.
his due. So we went to see, EMF did the Aaron Copland Cycle of American
Sure.
Songs last season, and it was paired very oddly with Mahler 1.
Oh, that is a
And so they opened it, I'm reading through those liner notes, and I said to my husband, I was like, I bet you $10
It's not in
there's
there.
going to be no mention of Justice Begley. None
Not at all.
whatsoever. Poor guy never gets his
Poor
due.
guy. The one I recorded on my pirate one is that there was a little ship and it sailed upon the sea, and the name of the ship was the Golden Vanity, and it sailed upon the lowlands below.
Yeah, the
kind of the
Mike Seeger's version of it on True Vine. Do you know that record?
Mm-mm.
True Vine is a fabulous. It's Mike Seeger
Okay.
solo. Mike Seeger with one instrument,
Oh,
just
yeah?
him singing. Spoonful is on there too.
Oh,
It's a
yeah? Oh, that's
fabulous song. Lot of good stuff on that record, and
I'll have to
he
check that
does
out.
the Justice Begley version.
Okay.
But the Justice Begley version, you can. There's a recording
I'll have to
of
find
time.
that.
I think it's called Timeless Recordings from the Library of Congress. or
Okay.
something like that.
That's cool.
So yeah, there's just lots of different topics and stuff like that in there. But, yep, I'm a fan
That's
of the
awesome.
Golden Vanity.
I like that.
That Texas Gladden's One Morning in May, which I know
Oh, that's
has.
It's cool to watch you sing and play at the same time too.
Took a long time to
I'll
figure it out,
bet.
man. Do you know Nancy Kerr? Do you know
I've
who
heard
she is?
the name.
Nancy Kerr and James Fagan.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the Australian guy. Yeah. They're the Nancy Kerr and James Fagan. If you go onto YouTube and you search Nancy Kerr, "Dance to Your Daddy."
Oh yeah.
"Dance to Your Daddy" is like a British
Okay.
folk song, and she does her own sort of take on it, but I have never seen anything like this.
Oh,
And
yeah?
she's doing I mean, she's like a Northumbrian style player, and I can't do anything kind of close to what she does. She's just phenomenal. But she sings a couple verses of it, and then she starts playing this totally different fiddle tune, keeps playing the totally different fiddle tune while she sings something completely
Wow,
different.
That's cool.
It's from the Bath Folk Festival. It is
That's
not
awesome.
to be missed.
I'll have to check
I
that
can't do any. Like, I can harmonize with myself if I'm playing mostly the same rhythm,
Yeah.
but like,
Yeah, some people,
She
it's like
is
they have
something
three
else.
brains going on at the same
there
time.
is a recording, or there's a YouTube video of like a big mash of people. It's too many people because it really should just be Bruce Molsky and Nancy Kerr singing and playing at the same time because they both can do that
Yeah.
sort of thing. But she's just phenomenal.
That's
She
cool.
never
I'll
gets
check
her. She never gets her full due, and she also never comes to the United States.
Really?
Like
That's too
ever.
bad.
Also,
You should
Red
invite
Tail
her.
Ring. Do you know Red Tail Ring?
Yes, they're really good.
Yeah. Every time
I'm
they.
really impressed at how many good folk bands are around now.
Yeah.
Where, you know, when I was a kid, it was hard to find people of that time period doing anything because everybody wanted to be a heavy metal musician.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, in one sense, it's like, thank God
But
for
even the
Oh
heavy
Brother
metal
Where Art
people
Thou.
were doing, yeah, that's true.
But in another sense, it's like,
But
well,
even
then you get like
back
Mumford
in
and Sons and
the
all
late
that.
'80s, you had Metallica doing Whiskey in the Jar, so it's like
Yeah.
so a lot of those bands were, you know, they were raised on that kind of music too. So
I haven't done this in a while. We'll see how it goes.
what key are we in? A?
D.
D.
This one is push and pull. It's
Okay.
very, yeah. You know that to those Texas Glide and the Alan Lomax recordings of Texas Glide?
Yes.
Yeah. I like the ones where she's just talking.
Yeah.
She just tells stories and I'm like, well,
That's
and
like
Elizabeth.
Glenn McTell did a lot of
Yeah.
those.
Elizabeth Laprelle does a lot of the Texas Gladden versions
Okay.
of, and she's in that band and on Elizabeth now, and she's
Okay.
quite a big,
Oh
quite
yeah,
a big
yeah,
deal.
they're great.
She's quite a big deal. Very, very. She does that. There's
They do a really
On
good version
her-
of Riddles Wisely Expounded.
on her Maddie Groves recording at the end of it, you hear her go, "Oh, that was long." Like, you hear her 'cause she does. It's just like a 7-minute version of Maddie Groves.
Oh my goodness.
And it's just her. I love it because so much of it is just her singing.
Yeah.
It's not backed up. It's not
That's
anything
amazing.
but the voice. Okay. I'm gonna get them. I'm gonna get them all. So this is close. Tatiana Hargraves also has a version
Okay.
of this that is like very similar, which I didn't know existed.
Okay.
And I did this in the finals at Happy Valley where I sang it and played it at the same time. And someone was like, "Oh, you must love Tatiana Hargraves," and I was like,
Who?
"Yeah, I do."
Oh,
But
yeah.
why are you telling me
Saying
this?
that,
Because
yeah.
I had never seen her do it. But
Oh,
she
wow.
does essentially the same thing, yeah. And she lives in Durham now. She's
Oh,
not
okay.
here right now, but let's see.
these songs that everybody I knew sang, like
Yeah.
Banks of the Ohio
Yeah.
and a version of Love Henry and some of these
Yeah.
different songs that were so popular that everybody kind of knew of.
Yeah.
And so then when I found out that there's like a scholarly part of this, it's like, whoa, that's really fascinating to me, because these are all songs, and like whenever I hear a song, I'm like, wait a minute, I remember that one from way back, but I didn't know that it was important, you know?
My earliest, I didn't. I mean, my parents are both classical musicians.
Okay.
And so any exposure that I might have had to traditional music was like this, square dances at the Rotary Club, or some Pete Seeger records that were kicking around. I was a Joni Mitchell fan as well, and so kind of looking at, later in life, kind of looking at her connections to not necessarily traditional music, but that she's actively trying to borrow from a ballad tradition.
Right. Well, that's how Dylan was, and I really got into him.
But in the class, I want them to feel like they own a part of this tradition, that they can be in it.
Sure.
But I also don't want them to sound like Adele.
Yeah,
because
right.
if you
Yeah,
go
'cause she
out
doesn't
into the
represent
larger
that.
culture and you sing a ballad, but you sound like Adele, then it's kind of frowned upon. And it takes time to really like find your voice within a tradition. And the best way, I think, the best way for them to get at it is if I model those behaviors.
And
where
if you're going to sing like Adele, who's copying all the singers from
Amy
the
Winehouse,
60s. But even she's copying all the singers
Yeah.
from the 60s, it's like, well, then you go the blues route.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these songs have their blues variations too.
Yeah.
And it's like you can pull those up. Like we were talking about Lead Belly.
Yeah.
You could do a lot of those songs.
It's
more
all
in that
branches
vein.
from a very
Same tree,
similar
yeah.
tree.
Let's do the Two Sisters.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
Okay. I just want to get her to play violin again.
We'll get her to play something.
So I took this one. There's a phenomenal recording. I think it's called Music from Beach Mountain, and I believe John Cohen recorded a lot of these ballad singers, and they're all from Beach Mountain, North Carolina, all of this sort of closed community of ballad singers. And one of them is Lee Monroe Presnell, and I don't know a lot of people who know a lot of his work, but I had this recording, and
Is he still alive?
No. And he had a tune to the Two Sisters like I had never heard, that I just thought was really beautiful. He sang it unaccompanied. He has very Americanized versions of and verses, where he's less concerned with rhyme scheme. You can tell he's kind of grabbing at straws as he goes. But because the Scottish version is the Twa Sisters, I wanted to find some verses that were like very distinctly
American.
Scottish, and some
okay.
that were very distinctly American.
Okay.
So the first sort of grouping has some of his verses and some older Scottish verses. The middle section is straight up Lee Monroe Presnell, and the last section where the supernatural kind of comes into play is straight up Scottish.
Okay.
So that's kind of my
That's older as we move through.
basically, but it's his melody unadulterated all the way through.
Okay.
Which I like, nice little mashup of like old world and new and things like that. So let's see. There were two sisters that loved one man, Jenny Flower Jim, dear Rosemary, and the younger swore she would have his hand. As the dewy hangs old on the rosemary, dewy hangs all on the rosemary. Oh, the younger push the elder in. Jenny flower, Jim, dear rosemary, and watch to see if she'd sink or swim. As the dewy hangs all on the rosemary. Oh, sister, sister, reach me your glove. Jenny flower, Jim, dear rosemary, you may have sweet William for your reign true love. As the dewy hangs all on the rosemary. Oh, sister, sister, I won't reach my glove. Jenny flower, Jim, dear rosemary, but I'll have sweet William for my true love. As the dewy hangs all on the rosemary. Well, sometimes she sank and sometimes she swam. Jenny flower, Jim, dear rosemary, till the elder drowned in the miller's dam. As the dewy hangs all on the rosemary. There came a fiddler walking by. Jenny flower, Jim, rosemary, when her ghost arose before his eye. As the dewy hangs all on the rosemary. Oh, what shall I do with your fair breastbone? Jenny flower, Jim, dear rosemary. Oh, make you a fiddle, this tune to play upon. As the dewy hangs all on the rosemary. He laid the fiddle upon a stone. Jenny flower, Jim, dear rosemary, and the fiddle began to play this tune alone. As the dewy hangs all on the rosemary. Oh, curse my sister, she took my life. Jenny flower, Jim, dear rosemary. Oh, curse sweet William and his new bride wife. As the dewy hangs all on the rosemary.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good song. But that's real similar to Juniper Gentle, and Rosemary, which is supposed to be a derivative of the riddles wisely expounded.
So one of the questions that you had asked me was about the little filler
Yeah, the odd
couplets,
little
yeah.
couplets, yeah.
And, it's kind of, I think Lord and Parry would say that something like that is, like, it's a filler so that the performer has time to process
Oh, okay.
what is coming next. Do I need to adjust? Like, I actually
Right.
took some out of that because
Okay.
this can go on and
Oh,
on and
for a
on and
long
on.
time.
I took out, I think 4 or 5 that
Okay.
in a different setting I would probably do, but you can actually lose the entire
Sure.
last set, and
And it's still okay.
and it's still okay because you can leave it with her just drowning,
Sure, well,
and then you
that's-
can leave it in this space of it's Shakespearean
Sure.
in that sense. It's so tragic that they wanted the same thing, and the one who wanted it more went about getting it and by any means
Well, yeah.
necessary. But one of the things that one of the things that, which filler do you use, right?
Okay.
So Peggy Seeger does this and does bow and balance to me, and then I'll be true to my love if my love be true to me.
Okay.
In Scotland, sometimes this is just called binnery.
Okay.
Because the filler that they use is binnery o binnery.
Okay.
I use Ginny Flower, Ginger, Rosemary as the dewy hangs all on the rosemary because that's what Lee Monroe Presnell did.
Okay.
And I just like it. It has nothing to do with any of the rest of the story, and it kind of actually runs counter to the tragic nature of what's going on. To have this sweet little as the dew hangs all on the rosemary is like you can imagine. But you can imagine her body kind of washing up and like the last set of verses that I use have that supernatural element that is so prevalent in the Scottish versions of these ballads. You don't see a lot of that in the States, and there's another one where I trimmed it out of this particular rendition, where the fiddler walks by, or no, in the Lee Monroe Presnell one, it's the miller's son goes fishing.
Okay.
And sees the body and says, "But what is that?" Well, it's not a fish, and it's not a swan. And so he fishes it out, but he fishes out her body, and that's where it ends.
Sure.
But these elements of the supernatural that are so prevalent in especially Scottish and Irish sort of storytelling and culture and local lore, I have a certain affinity for that.
And it's interesting because, like, in the States, we have songs like Tom Dooley, which happened not too far from here.
Yeah.
And so it becomes its own story, and it takes on kind of a life of its own that's separate from what actually happened from the events of the Tom Dooley trip.
It's the propaganda of the day.
Do you think that there was some of that going on in this time too? I mean, was this an actual murder that probably happened at some point, or?
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it.
Or is it just a morality tale that they're saying, don't kill your sister?
It's interesting because the ones in the States, we have pretty good documentation about. I mean, I did a photo shoot with one of my bands, the Zig Kings, and we wanted to have press photos of us in the exact spot where Omi Wise was murdered, because our guitar player, Mark Dillon, lives in Randolph County. He lives you have to take Naomi to get onto his street.
Oh, wow.
So there's this whole winding road that takes you from sort of these traffic circles in Randleman, and you follow Naomi all the way down and around, and you can get to the exact spot where she was killed. And so we took some press photos there, and it was like
chilly.
It's chilling, but it's chilling in a different way because that's a real thing that we know for real, for sure.
Like over in Winston, was it
Ellen Smith?
Ellen Smith, yeah. It's like she was murdered right down the street from where we live.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like literally like maybe a mile and a half from where we live.
It's something to. For American balladry, you would have seen it in the paper.
Sure.
You could have seen it on a rag somewhere, or somebody might have been barking it
but
somewhere.
This would have been the way they transmitted it back in the 1500s, and then it gets passed on, and then eventually becomes
to a certain extent. To a certain extent, I think. I mean, it's certainly possible. I don't think it's out of the question to assume that some of the really, really dark ones are like.
Well, and
horrifying.
all the really dark
horrifying.
ones, the bad guy's named is Willie. So I'm like, there's got to be something. Maybe people named Willie are just demented. I don't know.
I don't know. What's that thing they say about people whose middle name is Wayne, that they're going to?
Oh yeah, they're going to
be crazy people.
Never name your kids.
Never
Wayne.
name your
kids.
You got. So it's sort of a distinct thing, and this is pretty well documented, like between in the scholarship, that certain aspects of the supernatural folkways that you see in especially Scotland kind of they dissipate as you get into the States. So the one, and I just reread it in preparation for tonight. This great article that's about, around the time that Child is doing all of this categorization, a lot of people were trying to categorize things.
Okay.
So it's not, and he had a lot of trouble, he had a lot of input, he had a lot of people helping him, but this idea that categorizing folk tunes, not even just folk tunes, but like this was also in the late 1800s, this idea of like, can we categorize music in general? Can we categorize musical instruments? How can we organize these ideas? Some of it's really coming from the idea of like the proto beginnings of like library information sciences. Like how can we help people in scholarship now that universities are opening up and we want to have and give students access to a lot of this information? How can we make it easy for them?
Sure.
So categorization and like taxonomic science was kind of like a big thing during this era.
Okay. Well, what point do the supernatural elements drop off? Is it like right from the beginning when people come to America, or is it like over a certain amount of time?
It's over time. So the really good example that was in this paper that I just reread was the Demon Lover.
Mm-hmm. Became the house carpenter.
And in the Demon Lover, the version that existed in Scotland, it's pretty explicit, like that this is the devil in disguise, luring her away, trying to tempt her to make the wrong choice. So you've got some like biblical echoes of Adam and Eve and the snake and stuff like that. But she gets on the boat. Spoiler. She gets on the boat and he reveals himself to be the devil at the point that it's already too late. Yeah. And then she's crying and she's sad and
Well, and you see that in the False Night on the Road. Yeah. A lot of these, that's the same kind
but
of
it's the devil on the ship and she sees on the horizon she sees this really bright light. And she says, what light, you know? And he says, that, my dear, is heaven where you will never go. And then, what's this other light that I see? And he says, that, my dear, is hell where you and I must go. Because you made this choice. And you don't see those verses in the American version.
No, well, you get it on Bob Dylan's version a little bit, but he's probably pulling from, he's stealing it from the other one.
But it is interesting to me that, like, the Clarence Ashley one, which is the one that's on the Harry Smith anthology, it doesn't have that. It's never alluded to that this is anything more than a mortal man
who died,
and they both die at the end of the spoiler alert. They both die at the end of the American version, so they both suffered that sort of consequence.
Right.
Whereas that supernatural element of trickery.
Well, and that makes a little bit of sense because you're talking about a difference between Protestantism and Catholicism. So, like back in the day, when Scotland was still Catholic, a lot of that idea of the devil could be around any corner and he might trick you into doing something evil switched to the Protestant idea of, no, you are the devil. You're the evil one and you need to be redeemed. And so it became kind of, you can see that switch a little bit in the mindset, I think.
It's even, some of it goes just to like, have you been to Scotland?
No.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's just the greatest place. And even when you're in the bigger cities and you're not in the Highlands and there's something to that place where like it makes you believe in like magic hiding in plain sight. Like you can walk down Sucky Hall.
Ferry down the corner.
I mean, it even goes to the way that like Scottish Gaelic sounds. Do you know what I mean? Like there's something about magic is hiding in plain sight. You can walk down Sucky Hall, and I did. You walk down Sucky Hall in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, because when you're there in the summer, the sun doesn't even start to set until almost 10 o'clock at night because you're so far north. And so you don't eat dinner until 11 o'clock at night because when you're like a tourist and it throws off your life for a while. And you're walking back to your hotel and the street is like mostly, if you're like, I was like Wednesday night or something, just kind of exploring, and you're walking down a pretty major thoroughfare that is more or less, Saki Hall is pedestrian traffic only. And then during the day, it's so bustling and busy, but there's something about it at night where you're like, something, no, not creepy, but something magical could happen to me right now. Right here. And some of it is like me romanticizing a bunch of that, because I know, like, you know, those were my people back in the day. But yeah, just the idea that we get in the old world versions that, like, elves are a thing, fairies are a thing, the supernatural wants to interact with the organic and natural world.
That I asked you, these people, this was actually their belief. They thought, yes, if you go hang out in Carter Hall, you may run into an elf.
Yeah, the elf queen.
And he may get a hold of you, or she may get a hold of you, and you better be careful.
You better be ready. Yeah. And you do lose some of that to a certain extent in the American versions, and I mean, I don't know of, there are theories kind of floating around about, you know, the rugged sort of lifestyle that you would have been living and subjected to in early America is very different from, even in the Highlands. You know, where you've got a clan that's going to protect you and take care of your people. You don't have that in America, and what you're dealing with is the really harsh reality of the consequences of your own choices, being a victim of circumstance. I always think about the Wagoner's lad of like that you're leaving, and that sucks for me because probably I'll never see you again. And that's a real thing.
Right, because there's no postal service.
Let me interrupt. I'm afraid that we may have...
What's another one that you do? Tamlin. We need to do Tamlin. What key do you do? Do you do Tamlin?
I do Tamlin.
I just hope we didn't delete
I do it in D minor.
Yeah, me too.
Wait. I forget how to play it.
You should sing it though, because that's not one that I sing. I play that.
You know, there's a version I saw on YouTube where the guy goes, he does Fairport Convention's lyric, or you know, verse. So he'll do like, Janet's gone to Carter Hall's fast. That's a little out of my range, but as fast as she can be, and blah, 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 and then it's...
Oh, that's cool.
And then they go into the next verse.
Oh, I have to retune for that.
I might be able to sing it lower. Janet's gone to Carter Hall. I have that written down. Let me look it up. I have to cheat because I don't have these memorized. Some of these are new to me. Do a verse, at least a couple verses. I think Tamlin would make a great movie. I've thought about writing a script for it maybe, but I can't figure out how to justify how, I mean, in some of the versions it's like Tamlin rapes Janet. And then it's like, well, how could she just suddenly say this is my true love because she's pregnant by him?
It's one of the like tricky things when you teach ballads too, when the content of ballads are so horrific.
Yeah.
Because I teach a class that has a whole mess of different people in there, and I do the best that I know how to do to get to know my students, and like as much as is appropriate for me to know, and as much as they feel comfortable sharing with me. I almost want to like occasionally, like I have not jokingly like suggested to my department head that I should put some sort of like trigger warning on the syllabus that like there's gonna be some content in some of these songs. I don't know which of my students have lost a child.
Oh yeah.
I don't know which of my students have been victims of domestic abuse.
Yeah.
I don't know these things, and it's
all
in there, and it's we did Pretty Polly this past term. Somebody wanted to do Pretty Polly, and I was like, it's a rough tune.
Yeah.
And
but there again too, I mean, part of that is fact, you know, that happened, and then some of it dates back even more. So it's like
Yeah.
It's interesting too how in some of these ballads, it's almost like you can trace it back to 4 or 5 different murders that happened, and they all kind of have similar circumstances. And so somebody said, hey, that murder reminded me of that ballad, and so then they change it up to reflect the newer murder, you know?
Yeah.
Like what is it, Pretty Polly goes all the way back to the story about the girl that was thrown down the well, or something that they trace back to somewhere in England.
Mm-hmm.
And but then there really was the Polly murder that happened too here in the States.
Yes, in the States. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Wasn't it near Wilkesboro?
yeah.
You want to have a go at it?
Sure, we'll try it. Well, I'll let you kick off and I'll fall in because I'm still kind of learning.
Do you want to do the fiddle tune?
Yeah, we'll
first?
start it first.